Greetings, everyone. I'm Mar. Once again, this is my opinion, and as you can tell from the title, we are continuing the deep dive into the episodes of Everybody Loves Raymond. Now, we are entering Season 4, the Orange Box season. Now, as I've said previously, Season 3 is my favorite season overall, but that doesn't mean Season 4, 5, and 6 are bad. They're just, as a whole, a little bit down. But they're also up at the top part of seasons that I love as a whole. And just looking through the title names, there's a lot of good ones here, especially the later part of the season when we get Robert's little mini arc involving the bull. But I digress, and I'm getting ahead of myself. Whilst 3 was my favorite overall, this is where the show was starting to get a lot more critical acclaim. It was starting to get recognition in the first couple seasons at the end. 3, they started to get a bit more. Here is where they get a lot of Emmy nominations, and they start the trend that continues forward to the end of the show. And it got 9 Emmy nominations with this season, including nominations for lead and supporting actor for the main cast, Brad Garrett, Ray Romano, I believe Peter Boyle as well, Doris Roberts. But it was Patricia Heaton that took home the gold, and she won the show's first Emmy. In fact, when you watch all of the blooper reels for the next couple seasons, they actually bring it up. Like when Ray would forget his lines, he'd say something like, she's got 2 Emmys, I got none. She's got 2 Emmys, I got none. After she won her second one. Then, of course, once he won one, he added that to it. It's one of the Emmy winners. Another little fun, interesting story about this season before we get into this episode proper that I found out about when I was just doing some quick research about this season was that in connection with the Emmys, in May 2000, a truck that had 9,000 videotapes was stolen from a North Hollywood parking lot. And each of the tapes contained 4 Raymond segments. So it's essentially the For Your Consideration tapes that got stolen. And this occurred a week before the Emmy submissions were due. So the HBO producers and everybody had to rush to reproduce the tapes, which the truck was rediscovered on June 21st, not that far away from where it was stolen. So either in those weeks it was overlooked, or they decided, we got everything, we're going to go dump it. Only a couple hundred tapes were missing. They ended up donating all those because by that time they had already made the reproductions. They're apparently at a nursing home, so maybe as best of, or maybe for stuff to tape over. But it's interesting because I don't remember them mentioning this on any of the commentaries. So it's like, you'd think they would mention that, or maybe they just think, it's inconsequential, it's not connected to the show. Now, the first episode is Boob Job, and boy, is this a way to start a season off. It's an episode written by Lou Schneider, who joins Ray and Phil on the commentary track for this episode, so that's another interesting thing. And like a lot of the best family-centered episodes, this is based on something that happened in real life. This whole thing of the boob job, faking it, and of course, the line of the night, not if you think it's stupid, comes from him. He actually said to his wife, when his wife asked him, do you think I should get a boob job? Not if you think it's stupid. Probably one of the stupidest things you could tell your wife when she asks a question like that. At that point, even if you think it would look on her and go like, I mean, it would look nice on you, but if you're comfortable with yourself, just go from there. You just don't go, not if you think it's stupid. That's like a comment you would expect someone to go for like half paying attention and be like, not if you think it's stupid, honey, but no. In the show, he just says it like post-coital, like, not if you think it's stupid. And that's how Lou did it. It's like, and you can tell when he mentions that story on the commentary that, like, stupid thing to say, but it helped make this an episode. And this episode is also dedicated to Ray's acting coach, Richard Marion, so clap and a little moment of science for Richard. Now, the plot of the episode. As you could probably already guess from what little I've said in the title, it involves breast enhancement. Now, Ray and Debra are going to this parent meeting at another parent's house. Debra knows this lady. Ray doesn't, which is fitting with their characters. Debra's really involved with everything where Ray's always like on the periphery. But you get that when she brings up the person who had the surgery's name and like, no, it's like, we're in her house, Ray. Oh, perfect way. She tells a story. The mother got the breast enhancement, and not only told her that she got them, but showed her. And Ray's reaction is what you would expect, like, where was I? Then when they get home, they tell Frank, Marie, and everyone else. We get their usual reaction. Robert and Frank being like, ha 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 ha. And of course, Marie's can be summed up with, I don't like that. She goes and do her usual speech, but I don't like it when people do that. It's not something that should go on. And then she also adds another little bit of interesting lore in that she expects Frank to be interested in hearing all this, but she feels that Ray and Robert should have no interest in the subject because she never nursed them. And her whole argument is that if you nurse boys when they're infants, they'll grow up to be obsessed with breasts, which is like, where the hell did she hear that from? That sounds like one of those old wives' tales that people just believe, like with how the fetus carries, it's going to be a boy. If it carries another way, it's a girl. It's like, it's one of those old wives' tales. I expected more from Marie with how educated she always tries to carry herself. So it's one of those stupid little things, but it's funny just to hear her whole thing with it. And of course, the boy's reaction, like Robert's like, that's why you never nursed me? Now, as I mentioned before, Peter Boyle did have his heart attack at the end of the previous season. So for the first episode he filmed afterwards, you can tell he doesn't have his energy level quite back up to what it was before. Here you can see it's back up to normal. It's not quite what it was before, but he's back up to snuff, as it were. And he comes right out of the gate with those good lines. Because he has one of the best lines in the whole episode. And it's when Marie is talking about how she doesn't think that women should be having surgery to enhance their size. And he, without missing a beat, goes, Marie did it the natural way. She looks at him. Pound cake. Even now, that gets a big laugh out of me. It's like, oh my god, that sounds like something that once they got home, it's like, really, Frank? What? It's the truth. I don't know if it'd be pound cake, but I think pound cake works more than excess pasta. Now, after this, we get the whole conversation where Ray does drop the bomb, not if you think it's stupid. And when he comes back from being on the road, it seems that Debra has gotten breast enhancement. And it's very obvious, which just ties in with another bit of trivia, and that is that in between seasons, Patricia Heaton in real life actually had a boob job done. So this is the first time in the episode we actually see her new self. Now, in order to make it actually have a reaction from the audience and from the characters, in the earlier scenes, they have her wear stuff that cover herself up a little bit more conservatively. Here, she's wearing a dress that you can definitely... Not a lot's left to the imagination. You can see every curve. And it's like, dang! Which, of course, goes hand in hand with the line that Robert says that sums up the scene. Raymond gets everything. Another good line from Robert there. And everyone's reaction is quite what you would expect. They seem like... Frank just looking like... As you're probably guessing already, in storyline, Debra did not get that done. It was just socks, just to see what Ray's reaction would be. And I agree with Ray a little bit here, and it's like, that's entrapment. It's like, you don't just get plastic surgery, and then ask my thing, and then want me to say something stupid. It's like, her whole thing is like, you should have said, oh, honey, I want you to change your body. It's like, yeah, that's something that you say pre-surgery. Post-surgery, you want to be supportive and be like, oh, they look good on you. Now, if you think they're a little too big, you can word that diplomatically. Probably still going to get the jerk things thrown at you, depending on how you word it. Knowing Ray, he probably would have said it in a way he thought was sensitive, but it was insensitive. I mean, think about it. This is the same man that said in this episode, not if you think it's stupid. And he says in a later episode about someone different and other stuff. So, he's not really Mr. Sensitivity when it comes to the feelings of the women in his life at times. Though I think it's more accidental than intentional. It's not like Frank, where if he were to say something, you know he's meaning it 100%. Ray's more indifferent. But with that whole thing, I'm right on Ray's side. It's like, yeah, you're supposed to support it, but it's the whole entrapment thing. It's like, you could tell that Debra was planning it from the beginning, the last shot before he cuts from the bedroom to Ray coming back from the trip. And she does go on a good rant about, juvenile obsession with looks and all that. And they do kind of tie it back into the male one, especially the end gag where Ray's looking at himself in the mirror. Which, this is definitely one of those things that still resonates with me a little bit. I mean, as a teen when I was watching this, I still kind of got it. Because, it's that whole juvenile high school thing of, you got to look a certain way, act a certain way. be ostracized. I mean, I would have been on the outside anyway, being a geek and all that, but, being a bigger guy, it was like that. But even now, I still have that little mental thing of trying to look good, but it's more for health reasons now. So last scene is like, yeah, that I do kind of feel that a little bit more, looking at yourself, see like, okay, or if I lost it, oh, gonna lose a little bit more there, lose a bit more there, especially post quarantine and all that. And then of course the gag is like, would you like my socks? A nice way to end the episode. It does end with a bunch of touching moments in this whole little conversation. So it's a nice way to end it without there being anger or resentment on either side, and go back to the status quo, as it were. And overall, it's a nice way to kick off the season. Definitely one of the better season openers. I mean, a lot of the season openers are pretty good, but it's definitely one that is the best. I mean, it's not like the season 9 opener where it's like, that's going to shake up the status quo. And it segues nicely into the second episode, which is another one that was on my top 10 favorites list. And that is one where they're arguing over a can opener, and sometimes about a jar of fat.